You are listening to Press A Gaming Podcast, hosted by Zephyr Zero, presented by Realm of the Mist Entertainment.
Hello, citizens of the realm. Welcome once again to a Press A Gaming podcast. This time I'm actually hosting again. Last time you guys stole it from me and stuffed me in a closet. Thanks for that.
I mean, it wasn't necessary
we gave you food and water.
It wasn't necessary to shove you in the closet. It was just funnier that way. Just like it wasn't necessary for me to wear your clothes while hosting, but, you know, details.
Yep.
I think I scared him into silence.
Apparently.
I'm messing with volumes because UA responded and exploded out of my computer speakers, and Chris was really quiet, so I'm adjusting user volumes in Discord.
We can definitely do it again.
You're not quiet anymore because I turned your volume up, Chris.
We can still do it
He's trying to whisper things, sweet nothings into his mic. Anyway, I'm getting off topic again. Today's topic, I just used that word, I don't know why it disappeared, is the thing that's happening to so many games today in the whole COVID-19 crisis. Delays. Every single game is coming out with delays these days. Just lots of major games who just drop delays for one reason or another. Some actually related to the COVID-19 crisis, just making it impossible for them to continue with production. And some of them just because, I guess, they jumped on the bandwagon that all the other games were delaying and figured, oh cool, this is our excuse.
So, Zephyr, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Who's here talking to you about this subject?
Oh. Well, I already mentioned you guys by UA and Chris, but obviously together today for this episode we have Blackwings 13.
Heyo.
And Wyldehigh 77.
Wonder Twins power, activate!
Sorry about that, guys. I got a little ahead of myself there.
He's a little gun shy. It's been a while since he's been on his own podcast.
Oh,
yeah,
you can't
because
pee
somebody
in the cup.
locked me in a closet.
Hey, it was a good time. What can I say?
For you.
He can't pee in a cup.
Hey, if you had listened to our advice and played the Final Fantasy VII Remake, you could have been a part of it as well. But since you didn't do your assignment, we gave you the punishment of throwing you in a closet while Chris and I did a proper review of it.
See, didn't they
Do you
teach
know how long my backlog is?
Do you know how long
Also,
my backlog is?
Did they
Speaking of the
not
backlog,
teach you that
Is
in
it sad
school?
that I'm kind of happy that a lot of games are delaying their releases because it gives me an opportunity to catch up on my backlog?
Ooh, I'll answer that because I'll actually give the positive aspect on that. Yeah, it's not sad. I think it's a great thing. One of the silver linings of the whole COVID pandemic, I refuse to call it a crisis because I don't think it's as bad as everybody wants it to be. However, it pushing back release dates on a lot of games, besides the fact that it allows a lot of us to who play games, review games, try to finish games before jumping into other games, gives us a chance to catch up on those titles. But the titles that are coming out, especially in this day and age where a lot of games come out buggy or incomplete or just not really in the best conditions that they should be upon launch, companies can use this time to actually...
I definitely agree with you there.
Companies can actually use this time to straighten out their problems and have a functioning title release when they finally do release it, which they should be doing anyway, but the extra time of COVID, hopefully they're using that to say, oh, hey, look, that guy's not working properly. Let's get that repaired.
Yep. It's definitely definitely a good thing on that front, at least. And I think a lot of game developers were kind of jumping on the bandwagon of like, there's a lot of other developers that are delaying games because they using the social distancing as an excuse of like, hey, we can't really get any good work done, so we're delaying it here. And other developers jumped on it. Was like, yeah, we want to put a little bit more polish on our game, and this gives us a reason to say like, hey, we're not able to get as much work done. When in reality, they're sitting there and putting the finishing touches on it that they wanted to.
Can I call
originally or being
can I call bullshit on that first excuse though? Like, oh, because of social distancing, we can't. Okay, look, right now we are recording a podcast from 2 different states through our home computers using a free social talking program. You know, I'm not going to name the program, but it's usually for gaming. But otherwise, there's also things like Skype and Facebook Messenger, all free that you can use to communicate with each other.
While I see where you're coming from there, us doing a podcast on all of our computers is a far cry from designing and coding and building an entire game.
Well, hold on a second.
Is it really?
I mean, side with Chris on this.
What they do is they program on a computer. They can't take the program home to fix it or email it to each other. I mean, go ahead, UA, but that was my point.
Powerful as the one at work.
Well, and that's what I was getting ready to say. A lot of entertainment companies like Rooster Teeth, Funimation, they actually sent with their people their work computers or specific programs and hardware to be able to continue to do their product. Rooster Teeth is still bringing out content at its best quality that they're able to do from home. And Funimation, I know, has set up specific type of sound booths so that they can continue to dub anime.
Right. There's ways for them to get around it. I'm not opposed to game companies using this as an excuse to get a little bit more polish on their games that they want, while not having to worry about an original deadline.
No, see, that point makes sense to me, but the first point of social distancing, we can't work on our game, bull. You can work on it from home, whether you do it like UA just said about like Funimation and Rooster Teeth, where they allowed you to take home your own work console and terminal, or they just give you the programs and necessities for working on your own personal computer and sending the finished product to each other through, you know, for lack of a better term here, email. And if you have to communicate between each other, there are plenty of free platform social conversations. Text Now, Facebook, Skype, Zoom. Zoom is a big one nowadays. I mean, there's no excuse in that aspect. That one's just a plain out, we got nothing, so here's a lame excuse. Probably came from Bethesda.
So anyways, looking at the list of, at least a partial list of games that have been delayed as a result of COVID-19 or whatever reason that they have chosen, is there anything here that you guys are curious about or disappointed have been delayed?
I don't even know the list. I got last minute in here, so.
Well, it's a little difficult to have a huge list of game delays that right off the top of your head for all of this, because a lot of the games that did get delayed really haven't even been announced yet. Because a lot of games that are getting delayed and whatnot that are getting pushed back, a lot of the stuff, companies were waiting for E3 to post announcements and stuff, and E3 got canceled.
So the ones that have been announced that we were already aware of that have been delayed, we have Marvel's Avengers, Cyberpunk 2077.
Whoa, wait, stop. That's the one I was waiting on. How far has that got pushed back?
Give me a second and I'll let you know. Cyberpunk 2077 is set to launch shortly after Avengers in September.
Well, that was its original.
September 17th.
That was its original guesstimated release. I'm pre-ordered on it, and it was supposed to release in September.
Its original release was supposed to be sometime between April and May.
When I pre-ordered, it was in September anyway, so that one doesn't affect as much. But quite honestly, out of the new games that were announced that I know of thus far, including Avengers, I don't care about Avengers. Like, I'll play it, but I'm not like chomping at the bit to play it.
I'm not even gonna play it unless they take this time to make it look way better than it looked at E3 last year. I'm not going to waste my time or my money. It looks like a plate of hot garbage.
I didn't think it looked that bad. Obviously, like, I had to look at it as, like, you would look at the comic book characters as opposed to, Marvel Studio movies. Because obviously Captain America didn't look like fucking Chris Evans. And, Chris Hemsworth definitely wasn't Thor. But I didn't think the look of the game itself was that terrible. I don't think it was any worse than PS4 Spider-Man in terms of graphics and design of characters.
I'm actually pretty excited for Marvel's Avengers. I hope it lives up to pretty much what they've hyped us for with the trailers.
That being said, though, like I was saying, most of the games that I was waiting for this year are already out. The only one that I'm still, like, chomping at the bit for is Cyberpunk 2077. And that's simply because being an RPG or a tabletopper, I've played Cyberpunk, and I've waited for a decent Cyberpunk game, and this looks like it's it.
Yeah, Cyberpunk 2077 is definitely looking pretty good. Pretty much everything I've seen from that is just... the game's going to be good.
Now, full disclaimer on what I said, those are the games I knew of releasing. So that doesn't mean that you ain't going to read a title off that I didn't even know was coming out yet, and I'm going to be like, oh, yeah.
Well, the rest of the ones that, at least to my knowledge, that were announced for coming out this year, Iron Man VR, Minecraft Dungeons, and The Last of Us Part 2.
And what was the last one?
The Last of Us Part 2.
Meh. Yeah, so, yeah, quite honestly, the only one that affects me is Cyberpunk, and that really doesn't, because when I placed down my pre-order, that's where it was at anyway.
Well, then there you go. Another one that they announced for being delayed that I didn't know was coming out, and I know was going to affect a lot of gamers that are into first-person shooters, Rainbow Six Quarantine. Which I figure is an ironic title.
Yeah, pretty.
I'm actually.
I didn't want to say it. I'm glad somebody else did.
I don't want to be.
No, I had that punted.
I don't want to be a dick about it, but I'm shocked they're even doing Rainbow Sixes anymore. I mean, I didn't know they continued after Vegas 2. I mean, is that game series really? To me, it felt like that game. Although the Tom Clancy games, phenomenal games. I'm not saying anything to Divisions and. Splinter Cell, and, like I said, the Splinter Cells, like the New Vegas or whatever. Its titles were great and all that, but I get the feeling that, like, especially those types of first-person shooter titles have long since been swallowed up by Halo, Call of Duty, Battlefield.
Well, on the one hand, I would agree with you that there are some Rainbow games that I really enjoyed, one of them being New Vegas. I enjoyed that one quite a bit. But the last game that they released, which was Rainbow Six Siege, came out in 2015, easily has to be one of the most watched games on Twitch and other gamer channels throughout the web, because this game is so much fun for people to not only watch but also to play, because you can pick between, God, I don't even know how many operators they have for it, and it basically PvP, and it's a lot of fun to watch because of all the different game modes that they have. If anything, it's a great contender against Call of Duty.
Trying to figure out what the last Rainbow Six game I played was.
Rainbow Six Vegas.
I think it was Rainbow Six.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't mean to be a dick about it, but it almost seems like an under the radar title anymore because of I don't know of or think of anybody who ever even mentions any of the Tom Clancy games except for Division. I know Division, although it's not a first-person shooter, I know Division got some pretty good acclaim. But I mean, as far as like Rainbow Six titles, I haven't heard anything since Vegas 2.
Yeah, it's definitely hasn't been in the cultural zeitgeist for a little bit.
I honestly thought the Rainbow Six series went the way of Medal of Honor. I really did. Sorry for listeners who are like, hey, they're the greatest shooters. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying I knew nothing about it. I thought it was done. I thought that series was gone.
No, that's fair, man.
I completely forgot about Medal of Honor. I'm looking it up right now to see if there's any new ones.
I don't think there has been since Warfighter back in the early 2010s.
There's one announced for 2020.
Nice.
Medal of Honor Above and Beyond.
I hope to God it crushes Call of Duty. Because I'm sorry, Black Ops 4 is still hot garbage.
It looks like the last one for... let's open this up in another page. Let's see. Last one released, Medal of Honor Warfighter in 2012 by Danger Close Games for PlayStation 3, Windows, and 360.
And that one was hot garbage. However, the rebooted Medal of Honor that they did for 360 was phenomenal. I'd argue that gave a run for its money against Battlefield 3, which was like the hottest shooter at the time.
Medal of Honor Above and Beyond is a different developer. It's Respawn Entertainment,
who is known for
Windows
Titanfall.
and Oculus is their announced things.
Windows and Oculus, so they're not even looking at consoles. They're looking at VR, PC and VR.
Upcoming first-person shooter virtual reality video game developed by Respawn.
Oh boy.
Well, again, taking a look at that, right off the bat, Respawn, one of the games they're most known for is Titanfall. And, as far as the first-person genres are concerned, I don't care. Titanfall shadows most of them. I think Titanfall was a phenomenal series, both the first and the second.
I gotta play that second still.
It's cheap enough now.
No, I think I have it as a free download from PlayStation Network, so I think it's somewhere on my library. I just haven't gotten to it.
I think the last one I played was Medal of Honor Rising Sun.
Yeah, you're an old fuck. Gotta get with the times.
So, another game that got delayed that I didn't know was happening, and this should tickle the nostalgia bone in both of you, I would hope. Apparently, PlayStation is making a port of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, the pod racer game.
The what now?
The pod racer?
So
why?
I have no idea, and based off of the picture, I don't know if it's going to be remastered or if it's just a port from the original game, but...
They've been doing a lot of the ports of the old games for Star Wars on Xbox. I mean, right now I'm playing fucking Knights of the Old Republic. And...
I mean, that's something I would much rather have a port of.
I would agree with that.
Well,
give me a next-gen Knights of the Old Republic. Come on.
I heard rumor. I don't know how true it is.
Give me a Knights of the Old Republic in the style of Fallen Jedi or Fallen Order, and that's gonna be freaking awesome.
See, I don't. It's completely rumor. Take it with a grain of salt. And I know there's been rumors forever about it, but I have heard rumor that there are talks of doing a canonical reboot of Knights of the Old Republic for current gen.
I've been hearing that too.
I like these rumors.
Don't take it with the spirit it's given. It is unconfirmed. in any way, shape, or form. I don't want anybody coming back saying, "Oh, you're so full of shit." I don't know. It is strictly rumor. However, in the speculative points, if any aspect of this is absolutely true, good God, could you imagine a next-gen Knights of the Old Republic?
I take all game rumors with a grain of salt ever since Half-Life 3.
Well, I mean, Half-Life isn't necessarily a rumor. They are doing the Half-Life Alyx, I think it's called.
Yeah, but
which is a prequel instead of 3, but still.
There's been rumors that Half-Life 3 has been in development for decades. And so far, nothing.
Nobody says they didn't.
So,
I mean, look at
At this point, I will believe Half-Life 3 is a thing when it's out.
Yeah, that's fair.
So it falls into the Kingdom Hearts 3 category.
Kingdom Hearts never really actually actually it kind of did get to that point for me.
Well, that's where I was going to go with it.
Out.
That's where I was going to go with it. Is games like Kingdom Hearts, or even Fallout 4. When you think about it, Fallout 4 was in production since Fallout 3.
Yeah.
And it took them so many years to come up with something that they used last generation technology to make anyway. So I mean, just because the rumor is it's still in production doesn't mean they're not going through the woes of figuring out how to make this work. That being said, I don't know shit about the Half-Life. I never played them, so I could, again, be talking completely out of my ass.
I had more fun with Gary's mod anyway, so I'm not super invested in it.
However, I have also unsubstantiated rumors for 2K games. Again, no release dates, nothing in concrete. Take it with a grain of salt. That they are in production of not only BioShock 4, which, yay, but they are looking to remaster the System Shock series, which is really kind of the daddy of BioShock.
I had heard about BioShock. I hadn't heard about the System Shock remake. That would be cool.
I did hear about the BioShock as well.
Yeah, the BioShock 4, that was a leak. Again, don't have any back. A lot of times when I say these things and I say these are rumors or speculations, I leave it as rumor and speculation until I see it from the developer themselves.
Exactly.
The same way with like Star Wars when we're on Journal of the Jedi. If I'm talking Star Wars stuff, to me it's all speculation and rumor until I hear from like Lucasfilm Limited, StarWars.net, Making Star Wars News. Those are legitimate journalists that come out with the true stories for Star Wars. If it came from Mike Zeroth, for example, it's complete and utter fucking bullshit. So
honestly, the big game that I guess it's technically a game. Big thing I'm annoyed that got delayed is the DLC packs for Pokemon Sword and Shield.
I knew you were gonna go there. I was just about to bring that up.
It's like here I am thinking that this thing's gonna drop during all of this. It's gonna give me a nice little bit of levity and take my mind off everything. And nope, Isle of Armor pushed back.
See, you just hurt my feelings here. I was so proud of both of you, because in this list that UA read off was Minecraft, and I know how much you two are nuts over Minecraft. So
yes, I'm not so for Minecraft. I have never played any of the spin-off games like Minecraft Story or anything like that. I just stick to plain regular Minecraft.
Well, again,
yeah, the Minecraft Dungeons being delayed was like more of like an oh man, oh well, because like it's not like it changes how we play Minecraft in any.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like I was actually proud that you guys weren't going all man about Minecraft, and then you had to ruin it and fanboy out over Pokemon. Really?
I will always fanboy over Pokemon, and I will not be ashamed of it.
What do you care? It's the exact same game over and over again. It's like fucking they delayed fucking Madden 2021. So what? You got Madden 20. Deal with it.
There were some. All right, listen.
It hasn't been a brand new game. It hasn't been a brand new game since it came out on the original Game Boy.
And I don't get them back until we get some of the DLC.
Pokemon games like that have not been original since Pokemon Red and Blue on the original Game Boy. It's been the same game update, just updated graphics.
That kind of just goes to show that you haven't played them. Because every Pokemon game for a new gen has had a distinct story that is different from every game before it. And yes, the formula is about the same, but the formula is only about as the same as Final Fantasy.
No, that's not fair. Final Fantasy doesn't start every single one with, "It's your 10th birthday, go see Dr. Oak."
Every Pokemon game doesn't start with, "It's your 10th birthday, go see Dr. Oak."
Okay, so I'm going to play the middleman here real quickly and say that you're both right. Chris is right in the fact that most of the Pokemon games that I have played, and I stopped playing after Ruby and Sapphire, they all follow the same cookie cutter format of you get a starter Pokemon, you take on all the gyms, there's a big evil for some sort of Team Blank, you beat them, you go to the Elite Four, and you become Pokemon Champion. Yippee-ki-yay.
Well, yeah, but you can break down any game series into its formula.
But that's where good God, I'm losing it today. Sword and Shield is a little bit different because yes, you face off against the 8 gyms or whatever the hell they're called, face off against their champions, but before you even get a chance to, it's not the same as the original games. There is no Elite Four. It's done in the tournament style, which I thought was a little interesting. And before you can even face off against the champion, there's a complete right turn that happens in it that a lot of people weren't expecting.
All right, well, fair enough. The fact of the matter is I'm not saying I dislike the Pokemon franchise as far as the video game's concerned. I'm not saying that. But like UA said, I fell off around Ruby and Emerald because I got tired of playing the exact same game over and over again. And dropping good money into the exact same game over and over again.
And that's essentially what it was for me, too.
Yeah. I mean, I never really had the problem of Pokemon's formula. I kind of just liked having new Pokemon. I kind of liked the comfort of being able to play a close approximation to the same formula with different characters. For each Pokemon game that came out, so I kind of liked the how everything was kind of the same.
I can kind of get that. But like when you pointed out Final Fantasy, for example, when you break it down to its game essentials, Final Fantasy, you're right, it's the exact same game over and over again. To an extent, as far as like heroes taking on some big world-altering bad going on in the world. But at least there was innovations in each and every game, whether good or bad. There was always innovations in the combat mechanics. There was always innovations in the spell mechanics. There was always something new and original in the games. My argument with Pokemon up until
Pokemon had that too.
Not really.
Even with Ruby and Sapphire, they added double battles. That was the brand new thing for Gen 3. For Gen 4. They had, and then they took it away, Pokemon following you on the overworld when your Pokemon in the first slot, and then they had there was additional things like the underground, I think, with Gen 4. Gen 5 had horde battles introduced.
See, none of this really matters to me. If you want to impress me to the point where it gets me back to playing Pokemon, I'll tell you straight out. Give me customization in my Pokemon itself. When I have a Charmander, don't give me 4 generic attacks that I can unlock for him that are the same in every game. Growl, Scratch, Ember, and I forget what the 4th one is. Over and over and over again. Allow me to choose it. I'm not saying like let me have Squirt Gun from Squirtle and put it on Charmander, but I'm saying let me customize how to train him on the attacks that I want him to have from a list that would be for his class.
Okay, I can understand where you're coming from. You want a different leveling system for the Pokemon so that you can, like, I want to work toward Flamethrower and put time into that.
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the best way I can describe it, and you may or may not understand this, give me something similar to like the Materia system, at least, from Final Fantasy VII in the attacks and all of my Pokemon, or even better. I'll use a better analysis.
I was going to make that reference, but I felt like we already did the Final Fantasy comparison.
Which is why I'm switching it up, and let me give a better comparison. There was an old game series called Monster Rancher.
Oh,
you don't even have to look that one up. I still have Monster Rancher 3 for PlayStation 2 floating around.
And the depth and level of being able to train your monster and the attacks that they use and level up those attacks, give me that in a Pokemon game where I actually feel like a Pokemon trainer and I'm not just grinding until they reach evolution status or they get all 4 generic attacks, and that's all I have to choose from.
Yeah, that'd probably be a pretty cool Pokemon game to see. That being said, I'm still a little sad that the Isle of Armor DLC got delayed, just because, it's something new in Pokemon, and I wanted to experience it.
Speaking of games, not to go off topic, but, because I mentioned Monster Rancher, it popped it in my head. There was another game that was out on the PlayStation 1. And it might have been on PC, but I know it was on PlayStation. I played the shit out of it on PlayStation 1. And if ever there was ever a game that I would love to see come back, whether they create like a sequel or they just, remaster the shit out of it, there was a game called Master of Monsters. Look it up.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
I don't know that one.
It was kind of an overworld esoteric real-time strategy game, but you unlocked different monsters that became part of your army or whatever to be able to take on sections or areas of a map that it was almost like Risk with monsters. But you customize the monsters that you unlock. You leveled them up, especially if they survived the battles, and it was a really fun game to play. Like, if you guys have never played it, look it up. Maybe go on YouTube, see if there's ever any gameplay that somebody may have or whatever. It was a fun game, and I would love to see a sequel or a remaster of that game. Sorry, I just had to throw that out there.
It looks pretty interesting.
I had a blast with that game years and years and years ago.
I guess it's kind of like a it's hexagonal based too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was your basic without the bases, for example, and all that. It was your basic like Halo Wars, Command and Conquer style game.
God, I love Command and Conquer.
I bet you're happy they remastered 1 and 2 of that. Oh, speaking of happy of remastered, can we please talk about?
Apparently they did. Apparently there was a sequel.
Was there really?
Masters of Monsters, Disciples of Gaia.
Ooh, I think that's the one I played. But either way, can we talk about one that was announced, a remaster?
Sure.
Can we talk about
the
Tony
PlayStation
Hawk?
version titled Disciples of Gaia?
Can we talk about Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2?
Dude, they're bringing a Tony Hawk Pro Skater back, and I swear to God, if it's not the original soundtrack, I'm gonna riot.
It is the original soundtrack. That's part of the announcement. It has the original soundtrack. They updated the sound of it, so it's like, modern day, I guess MP3 quality or whatever, But it is the original soundtrack. I kind of feel like they need to reach out to
all the bands that were part of the soundtrack back for the original, and see if they're willing to re-record their songs specifically for the video game.
As far as I understand it, this re-release of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 is literally they threw a fresh coat of paint on the original game. So gameplay and style is the exact same. So we have the arcade, out-of-control fucking flips and heights and grinds, which awesome. They might have added a couple new game mechanics, instead of just, getting the letters skate and getting the pro score, and they might have added a couple extra things in that. But as far as I understand it, they updated the graphics and the sound. But it's still the original games. It's not that hot mess that was Tony Pro Skater 5. It's the shit that we all love that made us love the Tony Hawk franchise to begin with.
Yep.
I might have to get it. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm probably picking it up. Are you kidding me? Yeah, the opportunity to skate around to Superman again? Of course.
And as far as I understand, there is going to be a multiplayer too.
Oh, brother.
Chris, are you familiar with the Burnout game series?
Of course, being a Fallout fan, I had to be. VATS was based off of Burnout.
Say again, what?
VATS, the VATS system from Fallout 3, where it slowed down time to pick your shots and everything else, and the death scenes that came afterwards, like the slow motion bullet and taking off people's heads and shit, that was all based off of Burnout from their crash slowdown.
Really?
Yep.
That was based off of the Aftertouch. That's interesting.
That's where they came
That's
up with the
cool.
idea.
I never made that connection, but I was actually thinking of for the multiplayer Tony Hawk Pro Skater remake, they should do a Tony Hawk Crash mode.
That would be awesome.
God, that would be interesting.
Because there was a couple times you take some biffs that were fucking horrible in those games. Like even in that generation's graphics, they was just like you sat there and went, ooh, yeah. I don't know. As excited as I am for Tony Hawk 1 and 2, I also hope they either reskin or come out with a third sequel, like the third game of Thug. Tony Hawk's Underground. Those were great game series, where it had a little bit more of an RPG element to it.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys remember Thug. Thug was a really successful series where you take on the role of your own skater trying to make it in the pro circuit, and you interact with some of the other pro skaters, and as you're going through the circuit, you wind up in different cities, and each city is open world. You just go do what you want to do.
Honestly, the only other game that was in the same vein as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater that I played was Amped for Xbox. So snowboarding.
Well, I mean, there was Dave Mirra's game, too. Well, not Dave Mirra. Who was the other BMXer? There was two of them. There was Dave Mirra, but there was another one. I forget what it was. But it was legitimately like fucking Tony Hawk's Pro Skater with a BMX bike.
So, I don't know if we can count this as being delayed, or I'm sorry, not delayed. This was actually canceled. But I don't know if we can blame this on the whole COVID environment and all that. But, Chris, did you hear that WWE 2K21 got axed?
You know what? WWE has not, in personal opinion, because I know people are going to be like, no, fuck you, this one was great, and this one, the 2K series was horrible.
Yep.
They haven't put out a decent WWE game since WWF Attitude on the original PlayStation.
That's where I'm going to have to disagree with you. I think the last good one for me was SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. That was the last good one. After that, that's when it went to the 2K series, and it fell by the wayside so hard.
The problem for me, and understand, I don't mean to be mean to anybody else, and I respect your opinion. For me personally, when WWF games first came out, they were arcade-ish. They were, you know, for their generation, they were Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. They were basic brawlers, painted up to look like you were in the wrestling ring. Up until WWE Attitude the ECW hardcore game, which was basically the same game. And of course on 64 you had NWO versus the World and shit. That's where it all of a sudden, like, those types of wrestling games all of a sudden look like wrestling games. You know, and they were phenomenal. And then came, like, the SmackDown itself series. And they went right back to the arcade mode. And now this shit with the 2Ks, it's a terrible RPG.
Oh no, I'll agree with that 100%. I picked up 2K19 a few months ago because it was free on PlayStation Network, and I said, sure, you know what? Let's see if this is even worth my time. And it's got no meat to it. Yes, you can set up any match that you want against almost any superstar that you want, but it doesn't offer anything beyond that. It offers some form of campaign of being able to go throughout an entire wrestling year, but it takes so much time and effort just to get it set up that it's not even worth the trouble.
I never played any of the wrestling games, so I've got no clue.
See, I'll argue
Sorry.
the point. I'll argue the point that, like, you know, I hope this cancellation, and especially if it's COVID again, go back to the drawing board, and instead of coming out with the exact same thing over and over again, design a new game. Give us Fire Pro in WWE format. Give us, you know, like, hell, I'll argue, hey, Nintendo, you got a Nintendo Switch now, right? How about giving us an updated fucking pro wrestling? Those were great fucking wrestling games for their days, but it's time for new ones.
Honestly, I'm really hoping that this whole social isolation thing results in us getting a big boom of indie games after the fact. Like everybody got sent to stay home and stay isolated, and the people who were like, I'd like to make my own game, but I've never had the time, sat down and actually made their own game because suddenly they had nothing but time.
It'd be nice. It'd be nice, but I don't know, and especially because I don't know. I'm one of the people guilty. I don't play a whole lot of indie games.
I mean, I play some indie games, but like, they definitely have the deck stacked against them as far as getting popular.
I think it has a shot of letting the indie games take center stage for a while, especially with all the AAAs being postponed, delayed, whatever. You know, so I definitely root for them, but I think they've got to make something that really wows somebody. Like I hate to say it, but somebody as ignorant as me who would go through, you know, the PlayStation store or the Xbox store and see some random title and just be like, man, move on. Because the graphics didn't look all that great, or the story didn't seem all that interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which primarily happens to a lot of players like myself when you're looking for something new that grabs your attention. You know what you like, and you see all these indie games that might be phenomenal. I'm not saying they're not, but their descriptions or what screenshots were shown of them, and having no general back information about them, make me go, it's not really worth my $10, $20, $30, whatever they're charging. Because what if I hate it?
I can understand that.
So let me ask you guys a quick question. Keith, I know that you've played this before. Chris, I'm not positive. Would you consider the Wipeout series on PlayStation to be an indie property game?
Wipeout?
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Wipeout's
Okay.
like mainstream.
Well, I don't know who the developer on that is, which is why I asked the question.
Well, that maybe they're considered indie now, but I mean, Wipeout was born as an arcade game. Or no, I'm thinking of Hydro Thunder. But Wipeout, same deal.
Yeah.
Deal, but wasn't as popular. I think there were a couple of Wipeout arcade machines, but they weren't really as popular as Hydro Thunder.
Now Hydro Thunder, I would play the shit out of if anyone would put that on the PlayStation or Nintendo Switch.
give me a brand new fucking shit. I had it in my head. It was a racing game. It was not Carmageddon. Oh, Crazy Taxi. Give me a new Crazy Taxi.
Oh God, Crazy Taxi! I haven't played that game in forever.
Oh man, I wonder if there's a new Burnout game coming because I'm missing Crash Mode.
I don't know if there's a new one coming, but I think on Xbox right now, one of the free games is, I think, one of the Burnouts.
I think it was Burnout Paradise.
Might be.
I might have picked that one up or not. I can't remember. I don't know. Burnout 3 Takedown will always be near and dear to my heart.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's funny as far as the list of games that are being delayed. It's getting back to the topic at hand. It's funny, most of them I don't really care about. So to me, it doesn't affect one way or another. However, my point still stands. Hopefully, they use this time as a blessing in disguise to make sure that the product is ready for release by the time they actually do release it.
Yeah.
I'm almost wondering if they kind of had the forced game delays here, but I'm almost wondering if after all this is said and done, they don't see any drops in profits. If the gaming industry finally comes to an understanding of like, we don't have to rush these games out. People will still buy them, even if they're, quote unquote, late.
I think.
Well, a lot of that is going to depend on the game itself and the expectation towards it. If it's a game that people have been waiting a long time for, and they say that they're delaying it because they want to make X better for the player, they're going to probably forgive it and they're going to be okay with it. If it comes out and it still went janky, then I don't know. It depends.
I think it's a double-edged sword, and I'm going to use Final Fantasy VII Remake as a perfect example of it. When Final Fantasy VII Remake was originally announced was years ago. And it kept getting pushed back and delayed and pushed back and delayed, and people waited forever, and the fans did get impatient. People were not believing this shit was going to release. People were not believing that any of the stories were legit. People were fed up with, Square Enix and their supposed remake until it finally dropped. And when it finally dropped, it exploded. Like, it was everything and more that people were expecting or hoping for. So yeah, I think it's a double-edged sword.
Saying that it's like the first 1 to 2 hours of the original game stretched out to like 40.
To a 40-hour game, yeah. But the point of it is I think game developers have to expect both sides of the aisle in this. If they do learn from this, they can take their time to fix the games. Yeah, they may deal with backlash from the fan base who become impatient. However, if you release a good game, no matter how late it is, they'll always forgive it because you gave them a good game worth the price of the price of the sale. The big thing I think is going to change in the game industry from COVID-19, I think, is the exact same thing that we're seeing in the movie industry, and I think that's going to be a push towards digital and loss of things like physical copy or like in the filming world, things being released to theaters. Because they're going to be learning. Yeah, I would agree,
because even before the whole COVID-19 thing, the gaming industry was starting to get really big on its push for streaming services like Stadia, like PlayStation Now, Game Pass for Xbox. And I think that a lot of companies are going to take a look at the environment right now and say, you know what? Maybe this is the time for us to start streamlining direct consumer and cut out the middleman a little bit. And I mean, if this doesn't give the push to the next evolution of gaming, I don't know what will.
Like, we're on the cusp of releasing PlayStation 5 and whatever the fuck the Xbox decided to call their next gen. It changes like every other minute. But we're on the cusp of those, so I don't think we'll see that immediate change in them so much. But I guarantee you, PlayStation 6 and Xbox, whatever the fuck it's decided to be named next, there will be no disk drive.
Yeah, it might. We might not have disc games anymore. I don't know where we'll go from there, but we might not have disc games.
The console will be the size of your fucking cell phone. And all it is a fucking working hard drive to download the digital copy to play. And of course, you got to pay for the streaming service to be able to access those that you downloaded.
Yeah.
You make it sound like a dystopia.
It will be. It really much will be.
Anyway, on that, I love how the original topic of starting and talking about delays led to us talking about the classics for a little bit. It just goes to show that it always leads back to the classics.
Very true, man.
Hey, we all cut our teeth. We all cut our teeth on Nintendo
wrap
and
this
Atari.
episode up. Wyldehigh, where can they find you?
Oh, man, do I have to do it again? You guys can find me right here on Press A Gaming on occasion when I decide to show up, or for Breaking the Fourth Wall, or any of the other great Realm of the Mist shows. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, like, share, comment, subscribe. Check out all the other great podcasts of Realm of the Mist Entertainment, and go over to our sister channel, Sound Dicey Gaming, where we take care of all your tabletop and video game Let's Play needs, including the returned Chronicles of the Lost Realm. New episode releasing this Saturday. And of course, guys, if you prefer your podcast in audio-only format, check out Realm of the Mist Entertainment on Anchor FM, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Pandora, or wherever quality podcasts can and will be heard.
And Blackwings 13, where can they find you?
Hey guys, it's UA Blackwings here. You can find me on Journey to the East podcast along with my co-host Zephyr Zero here. You can find me on Journey to the East on Facebook. You can find me on our sister channel, Sound Dicey Gaming, also as part of Chronicles of the Lost Realm. New episode is releasing this Saturday, and if I am correct, Chris, we are going to be streaming live on Twitch episode 4.
Yes, we are. So if you guys have not caught up, you got to get on it because, those that are caught up, you're getting a new one this Saturday.
And let me tell you guys something, shit is starting to get real, and it is going to be a lot of fun listening to what we got planned for the next one. Aside from that, you can find me on Twitch, on Twitter, and on PlayStation Network under the handle Blackwings Roman numeral 13, and you can find me on many of the other channels here on Realm of the Mist Entertainment.
And as always, I'm your host, Zephyr Zero. You can find me on, obviously, Press A Gaming Podcast. You can also find me on Journey to the East, co-hosting. You can also find me on Chronicles of the Lost Realm. Go and check that out. Season 2 is awesome so far. They obviously announced that we're doing it live. And you can also find me on Twitch, Zephyr Leaf Chaser. And anywhere quality Realm of the Mist podcasts can be heard.
Hey.
And make sure to press A for great gaming content.